This meeting will be recorded and will be posted to YouTube and other social media platforms. By participating in this meeting, you understand that the recording could contain your video stream or your audio stream, including images of yourself or anyone in the room with you. If you choose to enable your video or audio device during the meeting, as well as anything or anyone else that may be in the background, could be recorded. The recording could include any opinions you contribute and anything you say about yourself. On occasion, chat within the meeting could also be captured in the meeting recording. Therefore, anyone attending the recorded meeting may have aspects of their personal data recorded if they actively participate or not.
Thank you. Oh, I think Dave Marsh needs the link,
Oh, okay.
if you wouldn't mind. I think he's getting power. So is Peggy on?
Peggy's on, yep.
Oh, good.
We have Peggy, we have Emily, and we have Joanne.
Great. So we're just missing Walter then?
Walter and Dave, yep. And I will take a screenshot. So you can go ahead. I can work with Dave while.
You're right.
All right.
I was going to say we probably should do roll call first, but I don't want to interrupt you. So we could go on to the approval of the minutes.
I can do roll call. Yeah. I'm all set.
Move to approve.
Thanks. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Joanne. Any corrections, additions, deletions?
I have a correction.
Yes.
I was present at the meeting and I'm not listed as being there.
You know, I wondered about that, to be honest with you, Emily. I was trying my darndest to remember. So thank you. I will fix that. And then we can approve it as amended.
All right. So adding Emily in attendance. Anything else, anyone?
Emily, were you remote that night or were you in person?
I was in person.
Okay. I pictured you, but couldn't picture what night it was.
I know we've had so many meetings. Wait till next week, right?
Yeah. All right. So you're all added in. Thank you. I apologize about that.
Was Lee at that meeting too?
I don't recall whether he came to that meeting or not.
I think he was.
Yeah.
Was he at that one?
I believe he was.
I'll confirm with him.
I think he was, yeah.
I think he was as well.
Well, I really messed up this day.
You got the important parts.
I know they all kind of blend together after a while.
They do. Anything else, anyone?
Just going to put approved as amended.
And then roll call whenever you're ready, Jess.
Yep. Emily?
Here.
Peggy Thompson?
I'm here.
Walter Nutter? Let's see, Walter. Deb Chamberlain?
Here.
Dave Marsh? Dave Marsh? Dave, are you muted?
Dave looks frozen.
I see Dave.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, here we go. Okay, I see him. Joanne Cormier?
Here.
Okay, so we're just missing Walter.
I think Dave is connected twice. I don't know if that's okay.
Okay, yep.
Sorry. Well, thank you, everybody, again, for joining us on this snowy Saturday morning. I think the best thing to do is turn it right over to our featured consultant, Liz LaFawn, who we're very excited to get started and move through this process. So I'm very appreciative again to have everyone here, and especially on a Saturday morning. So we're excited to hear how we get the ball rolling and what our next steps are. So I'll turn it over to you, Liz.
Thank you, Deb. And for me, you all are the featured guests because how we get it going depends on you. So the first thing we're here to do today, I guess, is establish what your announcement of vacancy or brochure or flyer, whatever you want to call it, will be. That's the first step. From there, my understanding is you will be appointing a sort of a larger search committee that will involve some community folks, right? So as we go through this conversation today, we'll talk about, what that will look like and the sort of stakeholders that you'll include in that group. As part of the brochure, as we go through it, we'll talk about the timeline. And there's two ways we can look at the timeline. And one is, many of my colleagues like to add very specific dates. And that's fine. We can add specific dates going through that your search committee will meet and that you will meet, and that you will do site visits and so forth. Or we can simply put in, week of, for example, which gives you some flexibility as we move forward into April and perhaps the beginning of May, right? I don't know how far we'll go in and how fast you want to do it, but it gives folks some flexibility in their schedule if something comes up, right? So either way, we can make it work for you.
I think time is kind of the essence for our committee. And I think however you recommend backing into as close to July 1st as having a new superintendent in place, if that's, I know we're on a really tight timeline. So I think time is our most important thing. So I think with the flexibility of week of, that sounds great. But the goal to have a superintendent for July 1st, if possible, is the number one priority for us.
Okay, so we're looking to complete this by certainly in April, likely. Okay, great. And I will tell you that when folks look at these announcements of vacancy, it's been all over the board this year. We've had timelines. We've got one going out that has like a 3-week timeline. And we had one that completed in the end of January that started back in November. So the timeline is really personal to you and we will make it work.
Okay.
I just pulled up I know you liked the format of the Northampton brochure. I know that Jessica told me she or you all were working on sort of the numbers in the district around enrollment, budget, school buildings, and administrative staff numbers. That's a piece that can sometimes hold things up. So I'm glad that's already happening. The other piece that's important for us to have is how you all want your community profile to look, right? And that will take some thought on the part of this group. If someone's assigned to creating that, and then we can share it out in terms of the draft brochure, perhaps at our next meeting, that would be an effective way to do that.
So Liz, Walter did send something over.
Oh,
I
okay.
have it in that
Great.
whole sheet I typed up with, I kind of took the information, looked at what Northampton had on their brochure and kind of put it into a format for us. Do you want me to pull it up on the screen or are you ready for that as yet?
Deb, are we ready for that? Do you want to start with okay, well, let's look at that. If we can knock that piece out.
I wish Walter was here to speak on it, but I'm surprised.
I made a few little changes to it as well, just like some number changes, etc. So
we're looking, Deb, really to get this brochure pretty much rolling today so that I can get a draft back to you, right?
That would be wonderful.
Excellent. that would be wonderful for me too. So
we're pretty good at agreeing on, how to move forward and work through the process pretty efficiently. So
hallelujah.
So far, so good. We're a good group. But we do know what we want.
Good. Well, that is excellent. Thank you so much.
You know, it's going to be hard to find, especially in such a competitive market, but we
I
really,
will-
really believe strongly that Quabbin is a very unique district and we need to find that unique person.
And
It's gonna-
so that's the key. And you will find, I will say that it was interesting to me to see Palmer had like 22 applicants,
Wow.
a very large pool. In Northampton, they had 11, but they had unique and strong candidates. So it is all unique to the district.
And as you know, the rural districts and it is unique. It is a little more difficult and challenging to, you know, have budgets in 5 towns and past and things like that. So we do have statistics, and being one of the larger school districts in the state, there's probably not a lot of experience with that. So we're hoping to find that unique person. So
Well, I think understanding that you're working with a school committee that knows how to get work done, and there sounds like there might not be a lot of unnecessary meetings, puts you in good stead. A majority of my work happens in Berkshire County, whereas you know, there are also a lot of regional districts.
Right.
And there's some excellent superintendents out in that part of the world, if I do say so myself.
well, let's lure them on this way.
Having a good school committee is like on the top of every superintendent's list, I can tell you. So
Well, we do kind of brag about that. We're a 15-member committee, but we do work very well together.
key. Thank you. So the school buildings piece is pretty straightforward, as is the administrative staff. That's,
So there's a lot there.
yes.
Do we add the other central office positions? You know,
Yes.
Is a potential superintendent going to say, well, where's my HR person? Where's my payroll? You know, should we add all of those in? I mean,
Yes, because
okay.
they want to understand the support they're going to have in the district right out of the gates.
okay. All right, I'll add those in.
That's very important.
Okay. And then here was the district profile.
Okay, so I'm going to leave this to the committee members.
Jess, can you make that a little larger?
I don't know.
No?
Jess, I think if you zoom it on your
Yeah,
end.
if I zoom in on my end, oh,
Yeah.
there we go. Yep, yep. How's that? Is that better?
Oh, that's much better. Yeah. We could kind
Even-
of read the titles a little bit, and
Okay.
that's much better.
You're in a beautiful part of the state too, I must say.
We think so.
Wow.
We think so. Okay. Yeah, I had looked at this profile already. Does anyone have any comments or suggestions or things they would like to add or change or in reading over the profile that's presented?
I have to make a change to the enrollment because it doesn't jive with what I have up top. I think I have 2,200, but I just want it to be the same number.
Sure, sure.
Well, Walter did a wonderful job. It is attractive already, right? You look at it and it sounds like you're excited about your school district, which is, again, what candidates are looking for.
We are very proud of, with the limited resources that we have, the offerings that we're able to provide for the students. So, but it's never enough, you know, we're always looking for more.
Oh, Deb, you
But-
must be an educator by trade because
I
you're
am
right.
not.
Oh, it's all about the kids, and it's kids front and center all the time.
I think that's pretty much how the feeling of our committee is, that that's what we're all here for, is for the kids, to give the kids as much as we can and the best education possible.
I love being able to field questions by saying, first and foremost, you have a wonderful committee to work with.
Thank you. Go ahead, Colleen.
I'm wondering in the second paragraph, we have offerings and by numerous pathways for students interested, that sentence there, either in a college environment or by working with their hands. Could we say something like, or hands-on experiences? I'm just sort of, I don't want people to think we have VOC programs, if you will. So I want to make sure we're aligning that sort of with our pathway work.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. Hands-on would sound better. I think I definitely agree with that.
Or by working in a hands-on environment?
Yeah, I think so.
I think something about maybe just that kind of multimodal learning strategy or something like that, because it's really, you're right, Colleen, we don't want to be confused with a comprehensive high school that has vocational programs.
So if I may, is it easy to say either in the college or career environment? Now, having said that, a lot of districts that don't have easy access to voc tech CVTE are pathways is, as you know, sort of like the next great thing that's offered in high schools that don't have that easy access. And I would think that anyone doing research on your district would be able to find that you are working on pathways for students. Or, if you want to sort of flush out that additional piece to the sentence, that's also fine.
And our state standards focus on college and career readiness as well.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I mean, that's the language that's used in our standards.
right. That's the language that's used pretty much everywhere, to be honest.
So should we change it to college or career environment?
Are you good with that, Colleen? Sounds good, Jess.
Okay, I think
And
that
what-
the next sentence doesn't make a lot of sense either. It just is not grammatically correct. It says we are an approved international baccalaureate school and innovation pathways program. I think that wording needs to be changed.
Jess, did you see Dave Marsh's comment? His mic's not working.
I
He's
did
in the
not,
chat.
because I'm sharing my
Yeah.
screen.
Dave,
here.
if you have something to add or change or share, put it in the chat.
Oh,
and
he
we'll
won,
get
yep, he did,
did.
and I just missed it. Dave wondered if Walter meant internships.
Oh,
I do, Dave, I agree. I think Walter may mean internships or even like the certifications and credentials we can get through Innovation Pathway. But in that particular sentence, it's about furthering their education. So I guess I'm not sure how that jives. Maybe that's just something we want to work on. We can sort of connect with Walter.
and incorporate that next sentence as well, because it doesn't read.
It doesn't read well.
I think incorporating those two sentences into a better wording.
Yeah. I can work on that over the, and get it off to you folks, and you can reply to me only about it.
Seems like we had a lot more programs that we offer other than.
So Dave is saying he thinks that he wants to allude to dual enrollment and internships. And maybe that would go in the following sentence where it's AP classes, innovation pathway, including, we could put there, including certifications, dual enrollment, and internships. We could
that's a good
like
idea.
expand or build out that next sentence.
Yeah, and then you might want to add just at the end of that, as well as, are ROTC, art, music, and athletic programs, which are important to everyone, but the dual enrollment internships that if you're pulling them off, again, congratulations to you. Lots of folks would love to see that happen, but making those connections is easier said than done.
Our kids are doing phenomenal internships. It's amazing. I want to do some of the ones they're doing, but yeah, they've really expanded the offerings to the students. It's fantastic what they're able to do now.
Well, I'm very excited to
All
learn.
right. So
more.
Colleen, do you mind working with Walter on rewording those?
Not a bit, Jess and Walter and I am sure can do that together. We'll send it-
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. Is there anything else anyone would like to add to that paragraph about our profile that we may be missing? No? Okay. Peg, Emily, you guys good? Joanne, good? All right, should we move on to the mission then? That's
This I took right off our website.
right. I mean, the mission and the vision is pretty much what we have anyway. So those I think need to stay as they are. So I know the qualifications was something we started to discuss at some of our previous meetings. So let's move on to that now.
And again, I took that right off of Northampton's. 'cause
I
know you
think
guys
some
like
of
that.
the brochures we were looking at was, some of the years of experience and different things, they had differed. So how does everybody feel about what's presented?
I just would mention that we're working in strategic planning currently on a new vision and mission. So at some point we may want to update that. I don't know if it'll be before publication. I think our final meeting is next week.
Oh,
but
I didn't
just
realize
to-
you were that close. Okay.
Yeah, so just to be aware. I think it's.
I
next
think it
week.
has to go to school committee, Kristen. It has to go to central office
Oh,
subcommittee, and
yeah,
then
of
it has to
course
go to
it
full
does.
committee. So it might be a little bit. I think it'll, I think this
Yeah,
will
you're
be
right.
published before we have a voted on strategic plan.
Right, good point.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So under the qualifications, it says licensed or eligible for licensing. Is that something, the eligible for licensing, is that common when districts are looking for a superintendent?
Joanne, it's actually standard, because if you have someone who's applying from another state, Vermont, New Hampshire, New York, Connecticut, they may be certified there, and it may be just a relatively easy process to apply in Massachusetts, as long as they have the required number of years working under that license.
Okay, I guess I was thinking in terms of somebody who hasn't quite gotten their superintendent's license yet. I think that's what I was
Oh,
thinking. Not necessarily, moving from one state to another.
Well, it's interesting to me, Joanne, you'll find principals in the state of Massachusetts who have their assistant superintendent license. But they might not, obviously, they haven't worked as a superintendent yet. So using that eligible is really important, because you could get a seasoned superintendent who's looking to relocate for a number of reasons, including being, the most common is to be closer to family, right?
Yeah, and Joanne, just so you're aware, many of us who are administrators do hold that license, and it's actually the easiest license to obtain. It really didn't require anything extra. I say that honestly, that there was no extra work we had to do. We just had to apply for it. So just so you're aware, we don't want to discourage, my opinion, we don't want to discourage candidates who don't have it, because it's just a matter of a few clicks and you could get it.
Kristen's right.
Okay,
And so somebody
you.
new,
Yeah,
somebody new
thanks.
coming here also, Joanne, would have to pass MTEL. So that's the piece that people with current Mass licenses would already have under their belts. And people coming in would need to pass. Am I right on that, Kristen? Regardless of the
Exactly,
license.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly right.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. I'm a teacher, so I don't know much about admin licensing.
I'm just
and
gonna say,
certification.
we do 300 hours to get the license, so it's not like it's
hand it out.
Yeah.
No, not a magical switch that you flick. I understand.
I was gonna
that.
say, I'm gonna pick me up one of those.
Okay, so some of the brochures had less than 10 years of minimum experience in education. I think that's something we kind of have discussed previously. Is that something everyone is in agreement with, to keep the 10 years?
You do
Yeah.
have preferred at the end of that statement, so that's something you can consider. And we can talk more about that as we move forward, but in the application process, just quickly, you can look at all the applications, or you can do a sort of a blind screen and see sort of numbers with whom, in terms of who meets which parts of what you've described in your brochure.
Okay. Okay.
And that's where you would note somebody might not have 5 years of teaching, but they're completing, like, let's say their 4th year, or they have 10 years in central office. It's just, yeah, I'd leave the preferred there and go with the 10 years. You don't want an inexperienced person running a district with 5 school districts, 5 communities involved.
No, we would prefer not.
No, we would prefer not. Otherwise, we'll be back with you way too soon and you'll be unhappy with us.
No, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do a good job and find that unique, good person that's a great fit for here. So we will leave the 10 years then, if everyone's in agreement. And I think salary, as we can see, we'll leave it as negotiable, and then July 1st preferred. Okay. So
So the reason
now,
I put negotiable was that I actually spoke with Sheila about some of this, because she said sometimes superintendents are locked into a contract, and if we are running a little bit later, they might be locked in for 90 days or however many days, and that, if we could expand it to September 1, she felt like maybe we wouldn't want to just, turn everyone away who maybe couldn't start till September 1st. And we could find an alternative for that July 1 to September 1. So that's why I put not negotiable in there.
good. All right, I think now on to kind of some important parts, our selection criteria and key responsibilities. So if you could scroll up a little more, Jeff, so we can take a look at these.
And again, I took most of these off of Northampton's,
Right.
but a lot of them I felt, did apply to Quabbin. So.
And I think as we reviewed the Northampton brochure at that meeting, we kind of all felt similar. So does anyone have any suggestions, additions, corrections?
I did try to put in that there's 5 district
Yeah.
towns in that first paragraph.
Yeah.
Right.
The periods are missing. I'm sorry. I'm an English teacher.
I
I'm
know they
editing.
are. Yep.
I apologize. I cannot help it.
Put that red pen down.
I was doing this with a fever yesterday, Joanne. I was a little delirious.
Joanne,
Yeah,
I just want to say,
Just on the last bullet and the, let me 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th
Yep.
bullet down. I'm sorry.
Yep, I see where it is. Yep, I know that too. I already had a note about that.
In the realm of this, I know that's like completely not even important, but
No, it is to me.
it shows attention to detail, Joanne, and it's always nice to have an English teacher in the mix.
Definitely. All right.
Can I offer a suggestion?
Yes, please. I'm kind of
Sorry.
surprised we didn't talk about this a little more. Go ahead.
So I think everything that here is really important. I want to just call out the second bullet, the humility and sense of humor. I actually love that. But this to me doesn't scream, I don't know, focused on education and the work, like us as what we do. So I'm wondering if we can just think about how to capture that. And I'm sorry, on the spot, I'll maybe work on a couple of things, but I feel like I would love a bullet that really calls out being passionate about providing students with an exceptional education, you know, full of diverse experiences, so on and so forth. You know, it says here, a collaborative leader with knowledge of curriculum development. That feels weak to me. And I want to beef up the idea of instruction, student focused, and really thinking about preparing these kids to be successful and what that rich education looks like.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. You are the one that can really help us put that into words. So if you could work on that, that would be great. Dave, did you have anything you want to throw in? No, okay. Peggy, you good? Emily?
I'm good.
I'm good. It looks pretty good so far.
Good. Good job.
If any of these changes could go through Jessica to me, then we would incorporate them into the draft that you will all see and give your blessing to at the end of the day. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
All right. Was that the end now? I think.
well, that was that part of it.
Yeah.
I'll stop sharing.
Okay. All right. So I think we have a great start on the brochure, Liz. So what else do you need from us at this point?
So I want to talk about the application process and whether you want to require a personal statement, some specific statement around the passion for teaching and learning, student growth. You know, Northampton was very specific around the personal statement and the DEIB statement. I'll tell you that it's very telling when folks apply and don't include those. If you're asking for a particular statement and they don't take the time to include those statements, I find that particularly telling about the candidates. And as we went through the screening process there, folks who did not include those also were not as strong in other areas of their application. Just, it sort of was a key indicator as far as I was concerned about the candidates' passion.
And I think Colleen just kind of touched upon that. That is very important to us. So personally, I feel that it is very important to include that personal statement, but obviously I defer to the other committee members as well for their input. But I think for Quabbin, the more information, and you know, we need to see, do they have the burn? Do they really,
Right.
can they really take this on? Because this is not an easy task. It's not the normal type of school situation, you know, we have a lot of challenges being rural and, you know, as you know, in this part of the state, it is a little unique. So any information that we can gather about this individual, I think will be beneficial for us. So I think it's very important to include that.
I agree. So folks will always provide sort of an introductory cover letter, right, that talks about who they are and their experiences, but adding that personal statement, and actually, you know, depending on whether you want to tweak Northampton's the way they've worded it or not, it does talk directly about what you want to hear from a candidate that might not be included in the standard opening introduction letter.
Jess, do you happen to have that available to pull up on the screen or no?
So
I don't want to put you on the spot. I know you're working a bunch of screens.
Sorry, I can read it to you.
Oh, all right.
It says a personal statement describing your major educational accomplishments, any defining experiences, and the leadership and organizational skills you will bring to the Quabbin School District. They asked for no longer than 500 words. So in other words, make those words count.
Colleen, how do you feel about that statement?
Yeah.
Love it.
Anyone else have any input to change it, or? We like Northampton.
Northampton,
Northampton did a good job putting this together with you.
so Northampton, I'm just going to tell you, took a lot from a brochure that's a few years old that was rolled out in Pittsfield, Pittsfield was also very concerned about having a passionate, innovative leader that would be able to address the needs of all students, right? And then they made it their own, just like you're doing now. But I liked their idea about having the statements added.
I think
I
we're in
love that I get
agreement.
to learn from every district I work with, because none of us knows everything, right?
And why recreate the wheel too, you know?
Why recreate it?
Right, right. So yes, I think we definitely would like to include that statement as you read it.
It sort of saves on an interview question too, right? Because we'll have some of that information up front.
Well, yes, and as you read those personal statements, you may see things in there that help you to develop a unique interview question. So yes, I like it.
Okay.
And we do want, and I know Jess, can I say Jess? Does that work?
Jess, yes,
Has been
she's muted.
pulling
Yes,
together
she's
some.
definitely a Jess. She's fine. You're fine.
Thank you.
Everyone calls her Jess.
Some folks really just stick with their school or town seal and pictures of their school buildings. I love the idea of adding colorful and exciting photographs of students participating in things. Again, it just goes to your passion for what you're doing.
And
How many
Colleen,
pictures do you think we need, Liz?
I think you send us as many as you have, in our graphic arts person who, as you can see, does a nice job. We'll
Yep.
put things in there that make it look really good.
Okay, because we are in the middle of redoing our website, so I have probably more pictures than you will ever need.
Send us,
Of
send
buildings
us
and of
pictures.
kids.
And folks will, actually, Carrie McCormick does a really nice job with these, and she works fast.
Okay.
And our communications director always works with her, and she's sort of one of those English geeks, if you will. So that's very helpful.
great.
Okay.
All right. So I think that was all you needed on the brochure, right? Is that all the areas we needed to discuss?
I think so. And Jess, I'll be able to deal with her on the things such as which seal you use. Do you have a school seal, well, it won't be a town seal. I imagine it's a school seal. And as soon as I have everything in one file folder, I'll send it off to our folks who do this work, to Carrie and Jen. And they're pretty quick at turning things over and getting them back to you for a look.
Great, great.
So again, when the draft comes back, if there's individual comments, send them all through Jess. Jess will then get what needs to be to me. We never want to reply all, as it sounds like you already know, on any email, so that we don't risk the appearance of an open meeting law violation.
Correct. Thank you for that reminder.
Cool.
So once the brochure's approved,
Mhm. So we'll get that brochure right up on our website, and we
Okay.
will, I will also tell you this. Applications trickle in the beginning of the opening, and it is always the last week that announcement is out there that we see the bulk of the applications come in. So when you email me and want to know how many applications there are, and I tell you there's 3 or 4, please do not worry, because I promise you they will come in the last week. and the last 2 days in particular of the vacancy opening.
Okay.
We
All right.
want to talk about a timeline, and the best place to start so we can work backwards is the application closing date.
That was my next question, is how
Mhm.
long do you recommend leaving that open and posting and?
So tell me how soon you imagine that we will be able to say that the brochure is what you want. Because as soon as you can tell me it's what you want, do you have a meet, for example, do you have a school committee meeting next week where some of these things could be, or a subcommittee meeting where you could say, yep, this is absolutely it. This is what we're including.
We have several school committee meetings next week.
Okay.
Almost every night. So I don't know do we need to have a subcommittee meeting to vote on this to formally approve it, or does this need to go to the full committee?
So whichever comes first, how about that?
Thursday
We could have a
evening,
subcommittee meeting prior to our school committee meeting if you wanted. I mean, what's it gonna
It's-
take?
Perfect.
6 o'clock. If we could
You
do
know, have a
6 o'clock,
Yeah. I don't think it would take very long to approve this. We're gonna really approve it. You're all gonna send any changes to it prior to, so we're all gonna, you know. I'll
It'll
make
be
the
one-
changes in the
one
drive,
last look, one last
Yeah.
look.
so we can do a 6 o'clock on Thursday.
Does that work for everyone? It's going to be a busy night anyway, because we have the public budget hearing that night, but
Right, but this will probably take 15 minutes, if that,
Right.
right?
exactly.
Right, so if you tell me on Friday that either go ahead or there's some changes, I would say typically that notice would get posted on our website and MASS's website on Friday, but it could be, based on the workload, it might be Monday. From there, I would count a minimum of 3 weeks to keep it open. 4 weeks is fairly standard. And I'm gonna open my calendar so I see what that looks like.
4 weeks brings us to April 10th, if we posted on the 13th.
Okay. Or it brings you to the 7th of April,
If you go with Friday, yeah.
right? And during that time, so given the fact that you want to move along, right? I would
Yep.
suggest closing it on the 7th. Which would mean that we have some more decisions to make, but by the 7th, I will know who all of your applicants are, and by Monday, certainly, or over the weekend, we could communicate to the search committee what that applicant pool is, and they could be, so we'd have some plans from there. I would anticipate that, so let's say April 7th for the purposes of discussion.
Okay.
Um,
Do you think will that other week make a big difference in the posting? Do you feel for the number of applicants? Do you think
Well, I like 4 weeks, but you can certainly go with the 3 and close it out at the end of the month. It depends on how important one
do you
week
think
is.
changing it to the 10th instead of the 7th would make a big difference to give them the weekend to finish it?
Oh, I don't think it'll make a big difference. They typically close on a Friday, to be honest with you.
Okay. So if we close on the 7th,
So
What do we-
during March, we would have already oriented the search committee. So that means we would have spent probably a couple hours with the group, going through the process, having people commit to the timelines, signing all the necessary disclosure forms, confidentiality disclosures, statements, right? Agreeing to confidentiality of the process,
Mhm.
disclosure statements for all of the staff members on the search committee, just for their own protection. That's very standard, and ethics has told us that that's something they'd like us to do. Those disclosure statements get filed with Jess and with their town clerks respectively. Should anyone ever in the future ask about a conflict, although it is a rare to never occurring situation. We just like to be sure you're protected. We will have had the opportunity to answer everybody's questions. And during that time, I would have search committee members working on the questions they want to ask in the semifinal interviews. And there's a couple of ways we can do that. I find, so some of my colleagues like to meet with the search committee, break out in groups, assign each group sort of a category of finance, labor relations, management style, teaching and learning. And they create questions there in the meeting. Another way that's pretty effective and time saving is that I provide the question sets virtually or on paper, whichever we prefer, to all of the search committee members. They then go back and spend some time going through them, send their top 2 to 3 questions back to me. I then forward that whole compiled list by category to the chair and or vice chair, who typically will then make the final selections. And that works well because I will tell you that when you have a search committee, I'm going to assume with a 15-member committee, you're going to have 13, 15. How many members do you think on your search committee?
Well, we've been discussing that and we were trying to keep that number down, but it seems, oh, well, we need this person. We need someone from here. We
It might
may
be
have,
17, I think.
yeah.
So it's a
gonna say-
big committee, but it's manageable. So you're not telling me 22, I feel a lot better. So very manageable, but with 17 people submitting questions, you will have questions that are running common themes. You don't often have duplicates, but you have things that you can edit so that people's thoughts are included in one question. It can be a 2 or 3 part question, something that superintendents are not unaccustomed to, right? And you want somebody who can think on their feet. You don't want to provide a simple one. There might be some one question statements, but that process works well because you can tie themes together and give them something to think about that they have to, answer related to their experience. So whichever direction you prefer to go in, we can move with that, but we can get that all done in March so that in April, we're ready to start scheduling interviews.
I know
And
one other thing we want to do is surveys too. So I don't know if that can be done in March or
So are we
started.
going to do just an online survey, Deb?
Yeah,
or-
I think
okay.
that's what no paper we discussed to get away from trying to navigate and compile that as well.
So
So I think
in-person focus groups, is that something you,
we did discuss having in-person focus groups as well.
okay. So one question. I know my colleagues are, and I differ a little bit on this, and I don't care which way we go, because it's your search and we're gonna do it your way. Some school committees like their search committee to have that community input. And honestly, I like to say, let's have the search committee focus on the key criteria that the school that have been created for them to look at. And then when the school committee meets, they know what their criteria is and they have the community feedback to look at as they consider the finalists. I like to, again, totally up to you. My personal preference is when I've seen 2 different sets of criteria brought in, it can be confusing for search committee members.
That makes sense.
Well, they look at it as criteria and it's really community feedback.
Right, right. Does anyone else have any input on that?
Liz, is the survey something we'll send out? Like I can put it in a Google form, the questions that you had.
Oh, no,
that you
we'll
gave
do
us
that
as a
for
sample.
you. We'll do
Oh,
that
okay.
for you. We put it on SurveyMonkey. I'll send you the link. I'll send
Okay,
QR codes. You can put that up on your website and or make paper posters and put them in the doors or
okay,
whatever. Schools, students often love that QR code because they can just scan and go directly and don't have to go to your website or do anything extra.
Yep.
Put it at your town hall, for example. If they have a bulletin board, put them in the town halls. People can do
Okay.
the same thing with scanning the QR code. I think the more opportunities for feedback, the better. In in-person sessions, we will get some folks to come. But
Well, that's what I was just thinking about after I said it is, I think we did maybe discuss having that virtually.
the
as
bulk
well.
of your feedback will come virtually because people can spend, say, 3 to 5 minutes online, in the car, at home, wherever they're most comfortable doing it. It comes through as anonymous. I guess if I was smart enough to know how to track down IP addresses, which I have no interest in knowing how to do, I could find out who did it. But folks also are most comfortable with maybe providing feedback without having their name or face associated with it. And then there are still those who love to come to in-person. So that's totally up to you. I think I have 25 in-person sessions, for example, scheduled in Northampton, which is way too many. But I'll be there. It's their search, right?
All right, so will all of that begin to happen in March after?
That's
That
gonna happen very, very quickly. As soon
Good.
as you say you like the form that we use for the survey, or if you want to change some of it. Did you all receive a copy of what that looks like?
It's in the drive.
It's in the drive,
Yeah,
right?
I put it in the drive when I first got it. Yep.
It's going to bring to you the essential information that you're looking at, sort of in a nutshell, what's going good and what do we need to continue or expand? Where might there be opportunities for improvement? And what are the key skills that you want to see the next superintendent bring to our district? Each one of those questions offers the opportunity for a comment,
Okay,
right?
great. So maybe for our quick half-hour meeting next Thursday, if everyone can take a look at those survey and maybe we can, if we have time, discuss that as well briefly, because I don't think the brochure will probably take us very long to review because we've
No.
already
I wouldn't
seen
think
it.
the survey would either, and I'll tell you, please make it as unique to you as you want, but we use that particular survey 99% of the time, and it does pull good information.
Okay, good. So if maybe everybody can take a look at that by next Thursday so that we can hopefully move forward on that as well at that meeting, that would be great. So as far as putting together the screening committee, Jess has begun that work with the people we had discussed. Is there,
Mhm.
I think did she share with you, Liz, who we were looking at having on the screening committee to make sure that we're not missing any key people or?
Jess, you want to run that list down to me now? Because if you did, I don't have it.
Yep,
in
we
front of me.
talked about it, I think, when I spoke with you on the phone at one point.
Yeah,
Um,
very likely so. I apologize.
That's okay. So let's see, we put it out to town officials that we were gonna choose from a put their name in a hat, basically. I've had 2 town officials put their name in so far.
Okay,
We decided on an elementary principal and a middle high school administrator.
okay,
We decided on a teacher, which the QRTA, I reached out to the QRTA to have them choose a person, as Liz, I think when we spoke, you recommended.
yeah,
So they've gotten back to me with that. Parents, I've reached out to high school, middle high school and elementary parents to have one from each. I do have some names. I haven't drawn them out of the hat yet because I thought before I do that, I would reach out to all of them and just say, this is our timeline. And maybe, when the orientation might be, et cetera, so that if
Mhm.
they can't commit to the timeline, they can pull their name.
Right.
Student government, I've reached out to student government advisor as well as the class advisors to get the names of their kids. And I'm going to reach out to them and again, put their names in a hat, grades 6 through 12. And then we have two central office administrators, Kristen Campione, who will represent for special ed, and then Colleen Muha. They'll both be on this search committee as well, on the screening committee.
Great. So
And
it
then
sounds like
everyone
with
who's
the,
here.
with the one teacher, you'll have certainly a union perspective. Important. It's a big committee. We would typically say one from each level, but I think if you're having the union perspective, you're doing a great job there. Parents from each level, significant because they are, if students are your greatest stakeholder, then certainly parents are next in line. I'm so excited. We're going to have at least one, maybe two students, it sounds like. You would be quite surprised at how valuable they are, or maybe
They
you
are.
wouldn't. They are extremely valuable in this process, and so many communities don't include them, and it's a missed opportunity.
They presented all of our school committee meetings. Our students are amazing.
That's
They are
so
amazing. So I am
fantastic.
excited about their perspective.
Thank you.
Maybe we could do a middle school student and a high school student, if you want to have two students.
I'm happy to work with a middle school student, and I'm sure your high school student would be happy to serve as sort of a mentor in the process. Even if you get someone from 9th grade and you don't get a middle schooler, that also brings in a perspective because they've recently completed the middle school experience, and they've started on their high school experience, so they can talk about the differences between the two.
Okay.
Just a little insight there. I again, you may have middle schoolers who can do this and do this well, but the 9th grade experience is kind of cool because they've just finished years in middle school and now they're starting the high school, and it gives them a good balance of
Well,
what the differences are.
since COVID, we had to move our 6th grade up to the middle high school at that
Okay.
time. And then we ended up voting and leaving that grade in our middle school now.
Good.
So those students have gone through several transitions. So I think you're right. Their perspective will be very valuable because they have experienced so many changes and growth throughout that time. But they are, I have no reservations about our students' ability to help us through this search.
Excellent. That's the exciting part to me of the search committees. And we've had some recently where high school juniors and seniors have served as the chair of the committee. You know, I don't really have any personal preference there, but I like someone who can keep sort of the process moving.
Good.
Now,
Colleen has a question.
Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Um,
That's okay.
I'm wondering a little bit, it feels like we're doubled up everywhere, 2 central office, 2 students, 2 parents, 2 admin. I really feel strongly we should think about 2 teachers, at least offering one for elementary and one for secondary. I think that would be a miss on our part if we didn't do that.
The teacher whose name I have is a secondary, so that might make sense. I can reach out to the QRTA president and ask him for an elementary name, if that is what the committee wants me to do.
I think that's a good call, Colleen. Sorry, Deb, I don't want to complicate it, but I think from the perspective of your lower grade teachers, they will be very happy to have been included.
Mhm.
No, I think they should be. I think they should be, but I'm thinking now, do we involve 2 town officials?
You're thinking select board member?
That's
Yeah.
who it was sent out to. I sent it out to all the select board members. Yep.
So that's
And I've only
totally your
received
call.
2, one from Barry, one from Hubbardston.
Totally your call, but remember their focus is always around funding.
We know.
One is the most common, but if you want to be more inclusive, we can certainly work with that.
How does everyone else feel about? I'm skeptical because we're trying to keep the numbers manageable to be efficient, but you want to make sure we're having everyone involved that we need to.
Yeah, the more
Um,
folks on the search committee, the more difficult it becomes to keep a schedule.
I would say one.
Okay,
Yeah, I would go with Liz's advice. That's what we have her here for. If she says what is standard, I think we go with that.
Well, when I
Okay.
say one is standard, it's not all that common that someone includes a town official. It does happen and it should happen. I like the idea of it. I haven't seen two. I haven't seen more than one in my experience.
all right, we'll leave it at one then. And honestly, if Jess has reached out to 5 towns and she only has 2 names, perhaps the interest is not as great as maybe I thought it was.
Well, they're
So
busy at night too, right?
absolutely, absolutely. So, all right, that's good. One there. Add the, how many does that bring us up to now, Jess? 18?
I would have to add it up, to be honest with you.
That's
I've
fine.
lost
No,
a
it's,
little
it
track.
is what it is, but,
I think we're at about 17,
okay, that's good.
We can do that.
less than 20.
That's good.
So I'd like to talk to the search committee once it's established, but we could begin interviews as early as, I would say, the 12th or 13th, and then go into that next week, the 17th, 18th, 19th. I would inform candidates along the way that that's what the schedule of interviews would look like, should they be selected for an interview, so they'll be prepared.
That
So-
is school vacation week. I don't know if that
Oh,
plays
how
into
could I
anything.
forget? Gosh, I was 44 years in a public school district, and give me a year and a half out and I've forgotten all about vacations. So your call, we could certainly start interviews early, and I'll just give you this experience. In Northampton, they decided on their candidates on a Monday night, and interviews started Tuesday. I had informed every applicant of that schedule, and we did not see anyone selected drop off because they couldn't meet the schedule. So we can certainly go to the week of the 24th, but maybe you want to save that for a quick turnaround with school committee interviews. We also have to coordinate this with when the search committee will formally report out. Gosh, I lost a whole week there.
I know, we don't have time for that. No
We have-
vacation this year, kids,
No
sorry.
vacation this year. We have to, the search committee formally reports out the names to the school committee. That's sort of when the names are publicly released. I don't know what your meeting timing is there. May push us into the first or so week of May, depending on everyone's schedules.
If necessary, we could hold a special school committee meeting to do that. But typically, our regularly scheduled meetings are the second Thursday of the month.
So
But I
you
have
won't be meeting
spoken
on
to the chair, and if we need to hold a meeting on a different date,
Will you be meeting on the 20th then?
No, we'll be meeting on April 13th. That's our
Okay.
second Thursday.
All right.
And we don't typically meet during school vacation because we have members who might be educators that don't want to participate in a meeting during their school vacation, as well as our
Yeah.
superintendent and other administrators sometimes take some time during a school vacation where it's a little quieter for them to be able to take a little mental break.
Yeah, I found out in Northampton about 3/4 of the community goes away on vacation too, which was just a new concept to me. Very highly protected, that February vacation.
so if we closed on the 10th, the 7th,
Theoretically, we can do interviews that next week. I would need the search committee to be prepared to come together very quickly on the 10th and make their decisions. So there's a couple ways that this can be done, right? And I take a deep breath because I don't want to, I want you all to have exactly what you want. In many cases, the search committee sees all applicants and makes their decision from there. I have found that because of privacy laws and what we can and cannot discuss with the search committee, it works well to bring in that blind screen with candidates numbered, and with that criteria that you've established, marked in terms of a score, right? 1 point for certain things. Like 1 point for the years of experience at each level, so a total of 3. The specific things that someone on the search committee, probably you, Deb, would pull out, like, it's obviously you want someone who's done finance and budget, perhaps contract negotiations, right? And what are those other key areas that are important to you to know they have experience in, so that they're given 1 point for each of those areas. There are some candidates out there, that you might or might not know a lot about, and might or might not, from our experience, want to interview. So the second option to that is to say, Liz and folks at MASC, because no one ever does this in a vacuum, bring us, please screen out folks that have something that we might not want to have splashed all over the news as one of our favorite candidates, and let our search committee look at everyone else. Right. But either way, we can work through the situation. We've done them both.
Okay. Does
That's
anyone have
just
any?
something there's not a lot of people out there, but there might be some people that you really don't want to be sort of front page of your local newspaper because a simple Google search found something that folks might not want to have to deal with.
Right, right.
Did I say that nicely, Jess?
That's a very nice way of putting it.
I did notice that Walter had joined us a little while ago, so I wanted to give him an opportunity because I don't think you were here, Walter, when we went through the brochure and all of that thing. So I wanted to make sure that you didn't have anything you wanted to add or kind of catch you up to the meeting a little bit.
Well, thank you. I apologize for joining late. I thought the meeting was at 4 o'clock, so I was out snow blowing my driveway. Yeah, so I just came in and Jess had texted me and said, "Have you signed in?" And I go, "Oh no." So anyway, no, well, of course I don't know what you did with the brochure, so I really can't comment on that, but I'm sure you did a fine job. I'm not
We're going to look
that.
at it again. You're going to see it again.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's
Okay,
in the
that sounds
drive,
good.
Walter. It's in the
Oh, it
drive.
is?
So if
Okay.
you want to, yeah, and if you want to take a look at it, if you think there's anything that should be added or deleted or whatever, if you can reply to me directly about it instead of the whole, don't reply all, just because of
Okay.
open meeting law. And then we'll
All right,
put that together. I'm going to send that off to Liz.
Okay, I'll look at that later on then. Yeah.
Okay, I know we talked about in the district profile, making a few changes there. Colleen and I thought we'd try and meet Monday morning and make some additions to it to just give it a more robust
Absolutely. Yeah.
sound to it, and we'll make those changes and then everyone can review it after that. And again, come
sounds
back
good.
with whatever.
All right. I don't have anything to add right now anyway. Thanks, Deb.
Okay, sure, sure.
So Deb, the other option to this is we certainly could schedule the interviews for the week of the 24th.
I mean, I want to make sure we have sufficient time to do a thorough job, and as anxious as we are to have this person in place, we need to do our due diligence as well. So I think the week, I don't think putting the interviews off to that week should change our July 1st timeline.
No.
Much of it at all.
You did hear me take a deep breath when I suggested we do them the week of the 10th. Like it can happen, but it's,
Well, we don't have the people on the screening committee in place yet, like we haven't done that part. So
Right.
we need to have time to do this and do it properly, not rushed.
thank
It's
you.
not fair to burden the central office. They're doing a lot of this work, especially Jess. Colleen and Kristen have already stepped in and been very helpful to us. So I don't want to overburden people by pushing this too far. As long as we can try to meet, the chair, the school committee, we really want to have this person for July 1st or as close thereto as we can. But we need to be practical with this. I mean,
Thank you.
it's a lot of people and it's a lot of moving parts, and it's important, and we can't just rush it through that way. So I would agree. I think the interviews the week of the 24th, which if at that point, do we want to leave the application open until the 14th? I'd
I think you're
rather.
gonna run into a problem there, Deb, though, with trying to review them that school vacation week. If we have parents involved and teachers involved in the screening
you're
committee, they may not
You're
be
right.
able to attend a meeting.
Okay, so leave it for the 7th. Maybe we can have a meeting the week of the 10th
Mm-hmm.
to review them, and then interviews the week of the 24th.
Excellent.
How does that work for everyone else? Since I've just made all our schedules. Everyone else good? Good. All right, so that leaves, we still have our May 11th full committee meeting. Or if necessary, we could schedule a full committee meeting the week of May 1st, if we needed to push it up sooner, right? If we waited until that 11th to bring it to the full committee, is that enough time, Liz?
So in the second part of the search that involves the school committee is when Jess and others' time is going to really be critical. If your committee is agreeable, and you could certainly do it virtually or any other way you do it, announcing your finalists that first week of May so that we can arrange and have site visits and interviews happen either the week of the 15th or the 22nd in your district and to the candidates' districts, if you so choose. That would be more ideal.
Okay. Okay, so I'll talk to the chair about holding a special full committee meeting for the week of May 1st then.
And so when you have that meeting, the chair and or vice chair of your search committee will announce the finalists. We will have some sort of an idea of a template to discuss, when do you want to do the interviews? Is it and you can have your committee thinking about this ahead of time by giving them an update at one of your meetings, right? We'll send you updates along the way about what's happening in the process so you can keep your committee informed. Always a good idea. They want to know what's happening. They will have
We always update them. We always report out at each meeting.
Always. So they will have decided which week they want to do interviews in district, how you want to format those. I've seen every configuration possible. You may want to consider, for example, doing your site visits to candidates districts that week of the 15th.
Okay.
And then having candidates come to you the following week where they'll spend pretty much a day in the district visiting folks that they want to talk to. And you could, another possibility is at the end of sort of that day of visits, they could spend an hour in a community sort of meet and greet with folks who want to come and talk to them. And then you give them a little time to have sort of something to eat and, get their game face on for their interview that evening. typical day in the life of a superintendent, right? Busy.
Exactly. That's
But
what
you
I
want-
was thinking, but then I think of Sheila's schedule.
You want to see them in that element, right?
You do.
Right, so
You
they've had a
do.
full and busy day, they're tired, and now how are they gonna respond to your questions? Because the job of a superintendent's 24/7, to be honest.
Well, quite honestly, I mean, it is critical, like in our towns, because they do have that long day, and then at 7 o'clock at night, they have to go fight for our budget a lot of times at town meeting. So that
So
is a good, I like that scenario.
and I sometimes like the idea of the school committee or whomever makes up those visiting teams, right? To do the site visits to the candidates' districts on an off week or off days, so they're not as tired, right? Coming into that meeting so that they can actively listen and engage the candidates' responses.
That's great. How does everyone else feel about that? Good. Okay. All right.
And
That
then you're
sounds
set to
great.
make you're set to make a decision basically that week of the 22nd of May, depending on how many candidates move forward. Now, that's something else you want to think about. You sort of give a charge to the search committee. You definitely want a minimum of 3 finalists to come forward. Because if you send 2 and 1 drops out, you have a failed search, you have to start over. You cannot interview 1 candidate. That's the decision's already made, right? Most common is to say 3 to 5. And I will be honest with you, if you have 5 people interview who can step in and be your next superintendent, I want to come to work in Quabbin. 3 to 4 is what you'll see, probably 3, maybe 4. Again, if you're fortunate, it's a good way to start.
I think we had kind of discussed not putting, a specific number. So I think a
Okay.
3 to 5 range would probably work for us.
Mhm. Yeah, 3 is kind of a minimum unless you know you have a lock on 2 candidates and you're not going to lose anybody.
I recently was in a town administrator search in our town, and our top 2 candidates withdrew, and
See?
we had put forward 3, and we ended up having to put forward the 4th, and sometimes things work out that, and we lost out on the first 2. One of them was salary, but the other one was time. He was scooped up by another community, so we lost
Mhm.
out.
Yeah, we do have a whole new batch of searches starting for the spring, which again is not not the norm. So there's still candidates out there.
Okay,
Good
so
ones.
that's fantastic that this timeline is going to work so well for us. That was kind of my panic to meet with you is this even possible to get to where we need to be?
Oh, everything's possible. We work in public education, Deb.
We
It's
make
all
it happen.
possible.
Okay, so that would be fantastic to be able to announce by May 22nd.
No, you'll be doing the interviews, I think, week of May
That
20.
week?
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's say you have 3 or 4, right? You'll be interviewing 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th. And I would always suggest to you, and there's a combination of things you can do, right? You can have 1 candidate a night. I like that process, but you can do 2 candidates a night. And you could say, we're going to interview on the 22nd, 23rd, and we will come back and deliberate on the 24th. But I would ask your committee members to certainly save those dates, the 23rd, 22nd through the 25th.
Okay.
And have the committee decide how they want to interview. I've seen as many as 3 finalists on one night. Again,
That's a
it
lot.
depends. That's a lot. And it really depends on what you're up for. One
It may
candidate.
depend on if we have 3 or 5 also.
So I'm going to say this, and it requires us, me, or Michael in this case, to be out more nights. But I think seeing 1 candidate in an evening is a setting where you can really be, again, active listeners, thoughtful about it. It gives you that whole evening and into the next day to reflect before you come into your next candidate. Two's very manageable as well, if that's what you decide to do because of time.
Okay,
You can also deliberate after two. So if you had 4 and you did 2 and 2 and then deliberated, or come back on that third night to deliberate. So it's really what's going to work best for you.
okay. All right. So we'll talk.
Three's a lot.
I think so too. I
Mhm.
think so too. Just going through the town administrator search, it was a lot. It was a lot. All right. So what else do we need to have in place for today?
I think.
So I think we need to think about having the screening committee on board for the next meeting. Is that right? That would be our
Yes.
next step for
Yeah, and
us
it's-
as a committee?
Yes, and as soon as you appoint that screening committee, we will identify. Let me look at the. So I'm just going back here through all of my open tabs. And I'm going to close some.
I can probably wrap up the screening committee within a couple days, I would
Thank you. I
think. I've already
wanted to-
emailed Evan asking for an elementary. And I just really need to to just send an email out to the people who have expressed an interest, maybe give them a rough timeline of meetings
There it is.
and make sure they can still commit.
Do we want to pick a date now to orient the search committee?
I think we
So
should.
that we can put that in
Yeah.
the, so you can
Yeah,
tell.
that'd be great. What do you have available, Liz?
Oh, let me go back to today. Go back to next week. When's your
Colleen,
next
is there
meeting?
something you're thinking? No, okay.
I'll just tell you, I'm on vacation the week of the 20th of March, March 20th.
Great, because I am so tied up every single night through that week, and then I see some wide open calendar days. We could do
We
anything.
like that.
Oh, I like that too, but they're gonna fill up very quickly as you can see. I like any time during the week of the 24th or the 1st. Sometimes closer to where they begin is better to orient the search committee so that we don't have to sort of give them the quick review before they start to interview. Wait, I think I just skipped a whole month.
Week of the 27th is a Monday, Liz.
27th, I skipped a whole month.
You
So
are already in
I know-
April.
I am actually in Northampton, believe it or not, that whole week, well, Monday through Thursday with them interviewing. 27th or the 3rd of, that's how it happened. The 27th, the week of the 27th of March or the 3rd of April, I could orient the search committee.
I think Mondays are difficult for some of our committee members, our search committee members.
Yeah.
Anytime during that week except for, well,
Just, do we
actually,
have any other meetings that week? I don't think so, but
No, the week of the 27th,
yeah.
we do not. And the week of the 3rd, we do not, at least at this point.
I mean, typically we have met on Thursdays because that seemed to be a good day. Would that Thursday, what is that?
The 30th?
The 30th work for everyone?
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay,
Does
good.
that work
All
for you,
right.
Liz?
yes,
March 30th?
yep.
That's good, Deb.
Perfect. Dave?
And
Walter?
that'll be the orientation, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's where, again, we'll go through sort of the requirements that they've signed up for, open meeting law, conflict of interest, all the things that they need to know, and then be available to answer all the questions that they have so that they're ready to start their work as soon as we schedule interviews.
And about how long does that orientation take?
Well, it can be anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on the questions folks have.
So what time do we want to start? I don't know what's good for everyone.
Dave, how early can you make it? That day?
I'm checking the chat. He can't speak.
I know. Would 6 o'clock?
5:30 or 6.
Would 6 work for everyone else?
Yes.
Is 5:30 too early for everyone? Why don't we do 6?
6 is the earliest I can be there.
Okay,
I think
Thank
6 works out well for any working
I think
parents.
so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. Okay, 6
agree.
o'clock. 6 o'clock on the 30th will be our first screening orientation.
And so I have one more question about the orientation. We can do this 2 different ways. Either the search committee members can be sworn in, which could be tricky with 5 communities. Some communities have their clerks come in and swear in the committee members because they are now an appointed public body. And if that happens, the clerks or clerks also provide the open meeting law training materials. We certainly can provide the open meeting law training materials. Open meeting law happens to be, I'm sort of the person on the team who loves to know about the requirements of open meeting law, ethics, and public records. So we can certainly handle that.
So Liz,
Just-
I happen to be a town clerk in New Braintree. I
Excellent.
don't know if they would allow me to swear them all in as a,
Good
a
question.
representative. I don't know. I can ask the town clerks and see if they'll let me do that. And I could certainly do that evening if I put my other hat on.
I have been thinking as I've been talking to Jessica, just simply via email and on the phone and now watching her tonight. I hope you all understand how lucky you are to have such a well-informed and prepared person doing this work for you.
We absolutely know.
Yeah,
Thank you
yes, we
very
do.
much.
Absolutely.
We could not do a fraction of our job without her. There is no way.
It makes a huge, huge difference to you. So I just wanted to be sure you all knew that, and thank you for knowing.
And Jess
Thank
is
you. Thanks very much.
a representation of the rest of our district.
Good. Yay.
So,
This is going to
that's
be a
why
great search.
It's very important to us to make sure we have the right fit, as I'm sure it is in every community, but we think we're a little more special than everyone. We have something very unique here that we need to kind of mama bear and take care of.
Well, we're going to have a good time then, because I'll tell you, my Northampton will be I don't mean out of the way. They'll be finished.
Right.
I'm having a good time there and I'm learning a lot. Palmer will be finished, which Michael and I have taken a big chunk out of, and I'll have Michael and I together. We'll have Quab, and you all are going to like Michael. He also does a lot of trainings with MASC and the National School Boards around bias in hiring, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So he brings a real specific skill set to the process.
That's great.
Mhm.
That's great. Colleen?
Liz, I don't know if I can ask this or not, or if you can answer it. I guess I'm going to ask it. Can you tell me when Northampton and Palmer are wrapping up their searches? I guess I just want us to be thinking we could have some of the similar candidates.
Yeah, Northampton will be finishing that week at the 20th of May. Wait, sorry. Again, I love having all these screens open.
Hmm.
Oh, this will be easy because I'm just going to go here. The week of March 20th. So right now they have 4 candidates, so they're scheduled through that Thursday. They should make a decision that Thursday, the 24th. And Palmer, I'm gonna have to find in my drive. Oh, you know what? It's easier for me to go on the MASC website. And I know we're doing semifinalist interviews there next week, so they're probably pretty close.
And the good news is everyone will have their resumes and everything updated and ready for us.
Yeah, and I'm only looking, I mean, if it were, I'm only looking because it wasn't initially my search, but we seem to have taken on a big chunk of it, so I should know this date. And of course, we have a new website, so I'll just wait for the wheel to spin and get, we recently updated our website. And like everyone, where everything is, and then suddenly it's not there. So I'm gonna go to this button.
Quabbin is in the process of redesigning, so.
It's really a nice website. It's just that automatic response, the sort of the muscle memory in your brain where you know where you're going and suddenly you don't.
Walter, I don't know if you were on the meeting at the time when we discussed the brochure. We're gonna, with the edits and everything, they're gonna send us the brochure and we're gonna meet next Thursday before the full committee meeting at 6 o'clock to hopefully review and approve that so that we can get that posted by Friday or Monday following our meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you for letting me know.
So Palmer is doing their finalist interviews the week of March 27th. So they'll be finished up. And it'll be exciting to have one search to work on and really I'll be thrilled. I had 6 going at once at one point there.
That's a lot. That is a
We got through everything and everyone seems quite happy, but it was a lot. Yeah.
Okay, does anyone have anything else they'd like to ask or add or bring up?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Walter.
Liz, it's nice to meet you here on Zoom. I have a question about the process. I'm a total rookie at this, so this is a rookie question, I'm sure. The screening committee will screen all the applications that come in, and then the finalists will be done by the search committee. Is that correct?
If that's the way you set it up, no. I'm going to say no, because you really
No.
have one bite in executive session. It should be the entire search committee. So the entire search committee will screen applicants, and they will either screen all applicants or, and again, either way works fine for me, or they will screen applicants that you say, MASC, bring us those applicants that sort of don't have something lurking in their past that we don't want to be tangled up in. And it doesn't mean, honestly, again, all applicants are fine. There's a really, really, really fine line about what we can say to folks in executive session that doesn't introduce some bias to the process. And we can figure that out and make it happen if these candidates tend to come out on top. And we will make it happen. So if you want to screen them all, we're perfectly good with that. We don't want you to have the feeling that we're trying to control this in any way at all. We just, again, open meeting laws and candidate privacy requires us to be very careful about things.
Okay.
Walter,
All right.
the finalists will be screened by the full school committee.
Okay, all right. That's kind of what I
Finalists,
was
yes.
trying to get at. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
If the whole screening committee was going to do the finalists, or if it's just going to be school committee people.
No.
School committee only. I'm sorry, Walter. I misunderstood your question. You'll get finalists and then everything gets turned over to you.
Okay, all right, thanks. That's what I wanted to know.
So Liz, I have a question then.
Okay.
When we start screening, does that have to be a posted meeting
Oh,
of
yes.
the screening? And is that executive session,
Yes.
or all the names redacted so we don't see names?
Well, we can do it that way because that does in fact eliminate bias in the process. Or you can simply get all the application packets and we can decide from there.
Okay. But it is done in executive session?
It is done in executive session. Candidates have the right to the expectation of privacy in the semifinal round. once their names become public, they go to the school committee and everything is done in open session.
Okay, I know
I'm
there was
sorry.
some discussion about that and I believed it was all done in executive session, but I just wanted to get the official word on that from you.
Sorry, I thought you were reading my mind. I should have, I should have clarified that. Yeah, we do the
No,
initial
that's totally
process in
fine.
executive session. And it really does become, it's so important, and we will talk about confidentiality at every single meeting. And I can almost guarantee somehow some things slip out, and I think most often it's unintentionally. But be sure that we will talk about privacy and confidentiality at every meeting along the way during the executive session process.
Great.
We've seen folks actually lose jobs because they hadn't, again, it's very common now that people tell their employers they want to be upfront and out in the open, but if you haven't told your employer and then your employer somehow hears that you're applying, we have seen at least one person lose their job over that kind of thing. We don't want to be responsible for that.
No, we don't. No, we don't. Okay, does anyone have any other questions or anything? I know this has been a long meeting, but it's been so helpful. So helpful. I'm so excited now that we have like a unofficial timeline and we're going to be able to make this all happen, I think.
Oh,
anyone-
Deb, we're going to make it happen.
Oh, I
And
had no doubt, but
Jess
for
and I are
July
gonna,
1st, for July 1st, but
yeah, Jess and I are
that's
going to
a
get
good
to know each other.
possibility. I think
Yes.
we're setting ourselves up for success anyway.
Yes.
Who knows what we'll get or what'll happen along the way, but I think we're starting off very, very good. We have enough room, I think, on, the other end, that if we need to make some adjustments, I think that's still there. So,
and let's be clear, Deb, that if for any reason along the way, the school committee is dissatisfied with the candidate pool or anything else, we're with you until the end, right? We're not going anywhere. If you decide we're restarting in September because we have the ability to have an interim to take us off, we're here with you right through.
great. That's
And
comforting
please,
to know.
if anyone has any concerns along the way, I'd love to, again, sometimes we go into just this mode where we're doing our job. And if you ever find there's a point where you want more clarification or communication, or something doesn't just seem quite right to you, please, please, please let me know. I have no ego about this. This is your search, not my search. And I want you all to be happy with the process.
Thank you very much. That means a lot to us. We really
course.
appreciate that. We're really excited that, we were able to work with you on this.
We
So
are
I
too.
think-
So
I just want to make sure everybody, because I know like Walter joined late and we've had some technical difficulties. For Wednesday, we will watch your emails for the draft of the brochure. Not Wednesday, Thursday. I'm already messing up the days. For next Thursday at 6, we'll review and hopefully vote and approve that prior to the full school committee meeting. And also, if you can look in the drive and review the survey questions and be ready, if we can maybe discuss both of those items, I think within a half hour, we should be able to do both of those relatively quickly. So hopefully we'll be able to accomplish that. But if everybody can look at that prior to our next meeting, that would make it much more efficient. Is there anything I'm missing, Liz, that we should discuss at that meeting?
no, I think not. That's going to get us really started. And I know because Walter wasn't here, and for clarification, we'll send you the link in the QR codes for the survey. I'll gather the information. I'll do a summary. I will also separately provide to the school committee the entire batch of feedback, which we won't provide publicly, but I think that it's important that you have it so you see what's in there. We'll create a summary that brings the themes and ties the threads together.
Great.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Anyone
Deb,
else?
Yep, just to confirm, on the agenda for Thursday, because I'm going to post that before I leave here today. review of superintendent search brochure, and then review of survey questions. That's it on the agenda.
I think
Okay.
that's sufficient for a half hour. Yep.
I do too. Yep.
Anyone else have anything else that they think we need to discuss that day, or? I think that should keep us on track and prepare us, because we'll have a long meeting for the public hearing. We have the budget public hearing that night, as well as full committee, Jess.
Yep.
So it'll
Bring
be,
some
we have a
coffee.
long week, but not as long as Jess. All right. Anyone have anything else they'd like to add?
Yeah, just again, we're all going to get to know each other pretty well over the next several weeks. So please don't hesitate to reach out directly to me, email, call, text, whatever, so that we can talk if there's anything you want to talk about with me. Okay.
Thank you so much, Liz. It's been a pleasure. Again, I appreciate everybody taking time out on their Saturday to meet with us, especially with the weather and all the technology issues we all had. But we made it happen, and I'm really excited to get this going, as I think everyone is. So I appreciate the time, and I think all we need is a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Enjoy the snow.
See you
Thanks,
later.
Deb.
Enjoy the weekend.
You
Go
too.
on.
Thank
Yes.
you. Bye-bye.